What's going on, Lab Rats? Lloyd here again with another episode. So, last week we did our Digivice, which is still here, as you can see. That was a 3D print. This week we have something else planned for you. We're going to use our laser cutter in order to try and create a 3D model as well. And what we're going to be using for that is cardboard. So the idea here is we're going to create a 3D model by stacking up pieces of cardboard, gluing them together until it makes the final product. A little bit different than the 3D print where it handles it all by itself, but we're going to be using our laser cutter to get very detailed, precise cuts. And what we're going to show you today is how we're going to prepare those files. So I'm going to take you into the process of getting the file downloaded, getting it set up for our laser cutter's raster and vector software, which is a proprietary piece of software that we can only use here in the lab, unfortunately. And then from there, we're going to prep out our files so that we can start doing our cuts. It's going to be a multi-part series again, just like the last one, and this one's going to focus on preparing the files, just like our first one in the first series. Now, let's jump in and see what it's all about. Alright folks, let's take a look at how we're going to prepare this file. So to start with, we need to find it. And in the case of things like this, big projects that are really visible online, there's someone who's already created a file somewhere for it. And in our case here, we have Epilog Laser, who is a laser cutter manufacturer. They have created a project file that you can try out with their new product if you buy one. We have a different laser cutter here, but we can still use the file for our own needs and use it on our laser cutter. So what I'm going to do is just download this, and then from there we're going to end up with an odd file. The file itself is set up in such a way that I wouldn't be able to read it in our software. We need it in a PDF, a PNG, or one of the other supported formats. The file that they have here is specifically for their laser cutter, so we're going to go ahead and change this a little bit. And in order to do that, we're going to use a program called Inkscape. Now this is a vector program, so it allows us to edit images using vector lines. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead and open this file, and I have it set here, so I've extracted it. I'm going to open up the CDR here, and it resizes my screen. Now inside of this, the things are sort of set off to the side here, and you can maybe see this. Let me see if I can get in here a little bit more. There we go. So you can see here we have 3 different colors on this object. We have a blue outline, a red number, and then a greenish square here. So these are 3 different vector lines. This one is going to be the actual cut that we need to follow. This one is going to just be the number. That way we can keep track of it for our own use. And this one is going to be a support hole for a square dowel that we're going to be putting into this in order to support the object itself. Now, depending on the size that we're going to be using for this, we can change the overall size of the project, but that means we'll have to find a dowel of similar size. What they are using here on the website is a 1/4 inch wood square dowel. So this is something that you can find at most craft stores, most hobby stores, and this is supposed to be a large project. I do have some cardboard here that I'm going to be using for this, so I have a decent amount, but I don't know if I have enough for something quite as large as what's depicted here. So I'm going to have to take a look and see, but I'll try and size this appropriately, but that's all going to come in the next step. So first, let's go ahead and prep this. So the big thing here is we want to make sure that each of these is indeed colored differently, which is already done for us, so that's good. And the reason being, when we take this into our vector program for the actual cutter, we're going to assign power values, so how powerful the laser is going to be, by the color of each outline here. So this blue line is going to be a certain power and speed, this red one's going to be a certain power and speed, and this green one's going to be a certain power and speed. But in order to do that, we need to export it into a proper format. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to place this into our mat area, and right now we have this displaying in pixels. I can change it to inches so we can sort of see what it is base here. So now it's in inches. So height of 14.75, so 14 3/4, and 22.12 So 22 and a tenth going this way. It's still not massively large, but it's something we can work with. Alright, so bring it in a little bit here. Now if I really wanted to change these things on the fly, in here we have a path select, and you can see as I hover over these things I can actually select specific parts of each of these objects. So if I needed to, I could change these. So if I wanted this to not be blue but something else, I select the path. I can go to Object, Fill and Stroke, and I want stroke point, and I can change these values here in order to change the color. So the RGB stands for red, green, blue. These are usually the things that you would find in pixels within video monitors and stuff like that. So you have these three different things, these three different colors, which combine in order to make the hues that we see on TV or in monitors and stuff. So we can change those here. If you're more of a graphics artist, you have CMYK as well, so you can change these aspects by whatever one you feel necessary. But we're going to leave these as is because they're actually set just fine for us. The only thing that we really need to do is change it so that we have a different file type. So once we have it in here, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to export this into a file format that we can use. So I'm going to say save as, and usually we'd go export, but for this we're not going to export specifically. We're going to save it as a specific file type. So down here we have SVG. These are going to be usually what you would use for your vectors. So any vector file you save is usually going to be some form of SVG. But we're just going to go ahead and choose PDF, simple portable document file. Now, the only thing I'll be saving, even though there's other pieces down here, so we can see different things here, even though we have these other objects, we're only going to be saving what's up here in this work area whenever we export this. So I say File, Save As. I'm going to go ahead and go to Desktop and put this here. Choose PDF. Oh, not PS. Choose PDF. There we go. And you can see I've already pre-saved this, so I've tested it out. So once I've saved it, I can come into here, and there we go. That's what it's going to look like. Now you can see here, each of these stands out, and it's pretty clear, right? It's not as light as it was in that previous file. So when we were looking at it in Inkscape, it was very, 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 very light. Even zooming in, the detail's somewhat there, but you have to get in pretty far. Here it stands out much more vividly, and that's what we're going to use. So from here, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to plug into our laser cutter, and in order to do this, we have to turn everything on. So you might hear compressor in the background. That's the vent fan that's pulling everything into the vent chamber so that it can filter out all the particulate and debris that may be there as we cut. We don't have anything in there that we're cutting right now, but it does have to be on in order to use. So we are going to connect this to our laser cutter, and I'll show you the software in there and how we can set it up to cut. Okay, now we are at our laser cutter station here, and I have this connected. So what I'll end up doing is I'll go to a website which we have set up, 169.254.10.119. This is an IP address, but this is a local IP address, so you can't really access it from outside this area here. We have to be connected, which I'm connected through Ethernet cable. So even if you go online and try, it's not going to really work. Alright, so now I'm in our project workspace here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring in that file. So here it is, the PDF. When I bring it in here, it's going to show us some interesting aspects here. There it is. So, what I can do is I can bring this down. And let me go ahead and remove this layer because we don't need it. There was an image layer in the background. We don't need that. We just need this layer here, which is our vector area. Now along this you can actually see, so these are set here when I click on this. Over here on the right hand side we have vector engraving parameters. You can see some speed, power, current, these sorts of things, and each one is color coded. So as I move over things This green one here is going to be for these objects here. You can see it's set to green. When I click on this one, hello. I click on this one, it's set to blue. When I click on this one, it's set to red. So each of these is color coded to react with whatever I've set up on this other side here. So I've now set my size on this object here. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to change some of these aspects here. So for this one we want speed really high, but we want a very low power. We just want to give it a little bit of a burn. We're not looking to dig all the way through. With our blue, we're going to do a little bit slower, and we want full burn. And the same for our green. We want a little bit slower but a full burn. This way it cuts all the way through. With these we can also say how many passes we want to do. When I tested this before, 1 pass was enough, but I'm going to do 2 just to be safe. That way it will travel around the colored edge here the number of times that we set at the power and speed that we set. This will hopefully ensure a clean cut for both of these objects here. Now with this set, the only other thing that we would need to do is prep our material and set that, but we're going to go ahead and leave that for the next video. So this is where we'll leave off on this one. Alright folks, that's going to be it for us this week. Next week, take a look as we start our cut, and we're going to try and do a good time lapse of that, and then we'll do our build after that. Once again, if you would, please comment below, let us know what you guys would like to see us do in the future here. We're just doing some preset stuff, but we'd love to hear what you would like to see so we can try and do that ourselves. And if you would, feel free to subscribe as well. Your support is always helpful. Thank you guys again, and this is Lloyd signing out. We'll see you again next time. Have a good one.